morning to all. Myself Professor Archana from Department of Petroleum Engineering. We are going to continue the topic carbon capture technique, and in the today's discussion we are going to talk about membrane separation and cryogenic CO2 capture. So here we have already under the carbon capture techniques covered absorption and adsorption. So moving on to the other carbon capture techniques, we do have cryogenics and membrane separation. So let's start with this one. So first we will be discussing the membrane separation techniques. So here under the membrane separation, what we can see it from this diagram, we do have under membrane separation gas separation, and then we are talking about the gas absorption, and under the gas absorption we do have the ceramics membrane, then polymeric membrane, and then we are having the hybrid membrane, which is the categorization here done. So moving on, membrane-based CO2 separation offers several advantages over conventional carbon capture technology in regard of ease of operation, low energy consumption and system simplicity. Unlike absorption or adsorption method, which is the carbon capture method, membrane enable CO2 separation without chemical reaction or solvent regeneration, resulting in more environmental friendly, vegan and operationally straightforward process. So this membrane has a compact design which allows for easy integration into industrial system, making them particularly suitable for decentralized or small scale emission sources where conventional large scale system may not be the feasible one. Additionally, membrane performance becomes more favorable when the CO2 concentration in the flue gas exceed 20%, as higher partial pressure enhances the driving force for selective gas permission, leading to improved separation efficiency. So what we have it here, when we do have the CO2 concentration in a flue gas exceed 20%, that time what is happening, as higher pressure will enhances the driving force for selective gas permission, and that will lead to the improved separation efficiency. That means capture of a CO2 can also be performed via separation with selective membrane, which are specially designed to allow the permission of a desired gases through the membrane. So the degree of selectivity of membrane to different gases is intrinsically related to the construction of material, whereas the volumetric capacity through the membrane is dependent on the pressure difference across the membrane. So higher pressure stream are usually preferred for the membrane separation as per the IPCC 2005 report. So membrane can be used in two different ways, either like a filter. So either like a filter where we are using in gas separation membrane, or we are allowing CO2 to be absorbed into a solvent, and this is the case of the gas absorption membrane. Membrane gas absorption utilizes a liquid absorbent at the gas liquid interface within the porous membrane, and it is governed by the reactive mass transfer mechanism. So what we do have it here, when we do have the first, we do have the two type membrane can be used by two different ways, either like a filter. So in case of a gas separation membrane, so gas will pass through it, and then CO2 will get it blocked by the membrane, or it will be retained on the membrane. And then we do have the CO2, allowing CO2 to be absorbed into the solvent. So this is the case of the gas absorption membrane. So in contrast to the membrane gas absorption, what it is doing, it is utilizing a liquid absorbent at the gas liquid interface within a pure porous membrane, and that is governed by the reactive transfer mechanism. In contrast, membrane gas separation relies on selective gas phase permission through dense or composite membrane. So we do have the two way here the separation taking place in case of gas absorption, and other way we do have the membrane gas separation. So moving on, the first one, gas separation membrane. So gas separation membrane, what it is, it consists of solid membrane material and operate on principle of preferential permission of desired constituent through the porous structure. So it is allowing some of the constituent to pass through the membrane surface. So the optimal separation efficiency is achieved by selection of a membrane material with higher degree of selectivity and higher permeability should be there. A commercial scale membrane separator typically will consist of a large number of a hollow cylindrical membrane, and that would be arranged in parallel. So the CO2 rich gas mixture is fed inside the hollow section at the elevated pressure. So we do have the hollow cylinder which is commercially available, and it is a commercial scale separator. So this is the different diagram. Here it has been shown. So 3 diagram I have put it, and this is the case of your gas separation membrane. So what we can see it here, we do have the gases to be fed through, and then we are allowing some gas to pass through, permeate gas we call it. Here also we do have it through this, what it is happening, permeate gas, which is the CO2. If you take this one, so this is the feed gas, and there is a 2 color of gas molecule was shown it here. So one is the yellow and another one is red. So red one you take it CO2, and this is the another, you can talk that it is a N2. What is happening, this membrane, this is the membrane surface, so it is gases is passed through this, so this permeate is what it is allowing to pass through, and then we do have a retenate, which is the other gases, not the CO2. So this is the membrane gas separation membrane system arrangement. And this is again, this is the diagram. We do have the feed gas, and you do have the 2 type of molecule here. So one is allowing to pass through this, so this is the CO2 rich gas, and then this side other gases is passing through. So this is the case of your gas separation membrane. And what we do talk about in the gas separation membrane, it works like a filter. So that's the thing, it's working like a filter, and it relies on selective gas phase permission through dense or composite membrane. So moving on, CO2 preferentially passes through the membrane, and it is recovered at reduced pressure on the cell side of the separator as permeate. So what we are getting it, CO2 is getting, we are on the cell side of the separator, and rest of the gas mixture constituent are recovered as a retenate. So this is the one, we are having the other gases which we call the, and this we call this CO2, we do have the permeate. So this is the 2 thing. Usually a fraction of retentate is recycled back to the feed stream to improve the CO2 capture efficiency at expense of operating cost of the process. So this is the understanding of gas separation membrane. So the second part where the membrane can be used is a gas absorption membrane. So this gas absorption membrane consists of highly dense microporous solid structure in contact with absorbent solvent. So the desired gas component to be separated diffuse through the membrane, and it is then absorbed into and removed by your solvent. So this is the process. So what the main difference we can get it from gas separation and gas absorption membrane is nothing but the separation potential. So in the gas separation membrane process, higher permeability usually associated with the lower selectivity and vice versa. However, when we do talk about the gas absorption membrane process, permeability is obtained by the physical presence of the microporous membrane, and it is selectively it is achieved by the liquid absorbent. So these techniques will favor higher flux of a CO2. This gas absorption membrane technique favors higher flux of a CO2 as well as more compact equipment than conventional membrane separator, as reported by some research work. So membrane can be employed, where it can be employed? It can be employed in pre-combustion process, oxy-fuel combustion and post-combustion system. And in the post combustion, for the separation of a CO2 from hydrogen, CO and natural gas, then oxygen from nitrogen, CO2 from the flue gases and all. So there are many different types of membrane material we do have. So we do have the polymeric, metallic, ceramic that have potential to be used into in the CO2 capture system. So some of the emerging membrane types are, we have discussed it here. So there is a membrane type. So first one I am putting it, polymeric membrane. So polymeric membrane are classified as rubbery or glassy based on the glass transition temperature of the polymer used. So the rubbery membrane operating just above the glass transition temperature can easily rearrange and result into low energy adsorption and gas release operation. So the gas solubility within your polymer matrix follows Henry's law and is linearly proportional to the partial pressure. So how it is related? CD equal to KdP. So CD is here is nothing but the gas concentration in the polymer membrane. Kd is nothing but the Henry's law constant, and P is a partial pressure of the gas being captured here. So on the other hand, glassy membrane operate at temperature below the gas transition and it cannot rearrange as effectively as rubbery membrane operating just above the glass transition temperature. So here we are talking about the two membrane. One we do have this glassy membrane and another one we do have the rubbery membrane. So this lead to imperfectly packed polymer chain and form excess microscopic voids in membrane structure and which provide the Langmuir adsorption site. So we do have the glassy membrane have the dual mode absorption capacity, and that absorption capacity will be shown by this equation. Ct is equal to Cd plus Ch. So Cd we do had it here, gas concentration in the polymer membrane. So here Ct is the nothing but the total adsorbed gas concentration and Ch is the gas concentration due to your Langmuir adsorption. So we do have the terminology Cd, Ch and then Ct. So Ct is nothing but the total adsorbed gas concentration and Ch is the gas concentration due to your Langmuir adsorption. So glassy membrane provide here higher permeability and lead to lower operating cost. However, permeability is inversely proportional to selectivity and your vice versa. Therefore, most of the existing polymeric membrane have an optimal trade-off with respect to permeability and selectivity. So the performance of the CO2 selective polymeric membrane can be achieved either by increasing the solubility of a carbon dioxide in the membrane through how chemical changes in your polymer matrix, or by increasing the diffusion of a carbon dioxide by altering the polymer packing within the membrane. So this is about your polymeric membrane. So moving on, we do have the inorganic membranes. So inorganic membranes can be classified into your porous and non-porous membrane. So talking about the porous inorganic membrane, it consists of porous thin top layer fixed on porous metal or ceramic support. So the support provides you mechanical strength but offers the minimum mass transfer resistance. So the second, some of the commonly used support material if we are talking about are alumina, carbon, glass, silicon carbide, titania, zeolite and zirconia membranes. So if we do have this non-porous membrane, the permeability is due to the atomic interstices, atomic vacancies and dislocation. So the common non-porous inorganic membrane have highly selective for hydrogen or oxygen separation and consist of a thin layer of a metal. So that metal is palladium and its alloy solid electrolyte and zirconia. Eventually, what is happening? Fluxes are higher in case of a porous membrane, while higher selectivity can be achieved using the non-porous membrane. So, under this inorganic membrane, we do have the two types. One is the porous and another one is the non-porous. So, porous material, if we are talking about the porous inorganic membrane, it consists of a porous thin top layer fixed on the your porous metal or ceramic support. Then one more type, we do have the mixed matrix and hybrid membrane. So integration of molecular sieve in polymer membrane provides both the permeability of a polymer and then selectivity of a your molecular sieve. So this is another type we do have. The another one we do have facilitated transport membrane. So this facilitated transport membrane that we call that FTM offer higher selectivity and can handle larger throughput of the gas mixture. So FTM undergoes a reversible complex reaction as well as your solution diffusion mechanism of your polymeric membrane. So this higher selectivity in FTM is due to incorporation of your carrier agent into your membrane, which can be reversibly react with your desired gas species. So another type we do have the facilitated transport membrane. So this permitting gas dissolve and react with your carrier agent inside the membrane to form a complex in the upstream portion of the membrane. So this is the another type. So this is the couple of the process we do have in regard of your membrane based CO2 separation. So some basic idea of this different type of membrane and the two type of separation. One is the gas separation and another one is the gas absorption. We do had it. If you do talk about the other separation techniques which is available for CO2 capture, that is the one which I mentioned, cryogenics distillation. So let's talk about the cryogenics carbon removal. So this cryogenic carbon removal method can capture CO2 from flue gases in a liquid form by carefully designed and control series of your compression, cooling and expansion steps. So this the cryogenics when we do talk about. So this is the method which is we do use for cryogenics carbon removal, and then it does involve there is a compression, cooling and expansion steps which we will be seeing. So except N2 flue gas component, that is H2O, NOx, SOx and O2, that required to be removed prior to your cryogenics process. So the temperature and pressure are lowered and increased respectively in order to liquefy your CO2. So in particular, the triple point of a CO2 will be attended where CO2 will condenses, solidifies and remain in gaseous phase simultaneously while N2 remains in your gaseous form. So the main advantage of cryogenic processes is higher recovery of CO2 provided CO2 feed is properly conditioned. So this liquefied CO2 can easily be transported for commercial use or sequestrated in your gas filled reservoirs. However, the presence of a contaminant, that the contaminant which we are talking about, SOx and NOx, can hinder your cryogenic processes, and that requires a complicated conditioning process of the flue gas before entering to your cryogenics separator. So eventually the need for pressurization and refrigeration can make cryogenic process energy intensive. As we are seeing, we do require the pressurization and then refrigeration, so both is the energy related operation. So this due to this need for pressurization and refrigeration, it is making cryogenic process energy intensive and hence expensive depending upon the CO2 concentration in your flue gases. So therefore cryogenic separation is commercially used for your purification of a CO2 from a stream with high CO2 concentration, typically greater than 90%, and not normally used for highly diluted stream. So this cryogenic carbon capture CCC we can use process can be applied in your post combustion system and is suitable for retrofitting existing power plant with relative ease. So there is a one process flow schematic diagram of cryogenic carbon capture process is given. This is the one which here we are talking about compression, cooling and expansion step. So we will talk that in detail. So this is another cryogenic carbon capture diagram was shown, and here what we can see, we do have the heat exchanger, then we are talking about the separator, and we do have the starting with the emission source. So CO2 get it emitted from the emission source and then raw gas fed to the system, and then we do have the finally cold CO2 we are getting and clean gas we are getting from the top. So let's discuss the different processes which is involved here. So cryogenic CO2 capture or CCC is what? It is a post-combustion technology that cools flue gas to sub-zero temperature to desublimate or condense CO2 into your solid or liquid phase, allowing the easy separation. So the process are involving, as mentioned, it does involve cooling, compression, solid gas separation, purification and resulting in a high purity CO2 and clean nitrogen exhaust. So talk about the detailed process flow. So the first we do have the pre-treatment. So we call the drying or cooling. So flue gas from existing system is cleaned for NOx and SOx, then cooled and dried to remove water vapor to prevent icing. The second, we do have cryogenic cooling or desublimation. So the cooled flue gas enter a cryogenic chamber where it is further cooled using your heat exchanger. So this is the one heat exchanger we are talking about. So the CO2 desublimate directly from gas to solid. So that solid CO2 we call the dry gas because it does not form a liquid phase at a typical flue gas pressure. So separation, the solid CO2, that is dry ice, is separated from the remaining light gases. Primarily we are talking about here nitrogen in a solid gas separator. And then we do have the pressurization and reheating. This solid CO2 is pressurized to 70 to 80 bar and reheated, causing it to melt into high pressure liquid, often utilizing heat exchanger to cool the incoming flue gas. So because we require to do this operation at what we want under this technology, that cools your flue gas to sub-zero. So here this heat exchange will take place here, and we are having this again, it will exchange the heat with the incoming flue gases after this operation, this pressurization and reheating here we are talking about. So the solid CO2 is pressurized to 70 to 80 bar and reheated, causing it to melt into your high pressure liquid. Then we do have the final compression. So the liquid CO2 is pressurized to final delivery pressure typically. This is the final operation what we want it here. We want this liquid CO2 to be pressurized to a final delivery pressure. So this is the pressurization or compression we are doing it. Then we do have the heat recovery. Cold clean exhaust gas is used to help cool the incoming warmer flue gas to improve the energy efficiency by recovering the heat. So this the two different capture technique we do had it here. So first one we do talk about the membrane based CO2 separation. So this we will conclude it here. So what we all learn under the membrane based CO2 separation. So membrane based CO2 separation is a gas separation technology that uses a thin selective barrier. So that barrier we do have a membrane, and does it separate your carbon dioxide from other gases like nitrogen, methane, hydrogen. It is a widely studied for carbon capture and storage. Then further it is being used in natural gas processing, hydrogen power plant also, and for the industrial flue gas treatment as well. How does it work? The separation works based on difference in permeability. When a gas mixture contact a membrane, some gases pass through faster. So that is a more permeable to pass through that one. Other gases slowly it will pass or it will get it retained. So for the CO2 capture, CO2 usually permeates faster than your N2 or CH4. So pressure difference across the membrane will drive this separation. So what the basic principle? Permeability we do have solubility into diffusivity. And then this separation does depends on how much gas dissolve in the membrane and how fast it diffuses through. So that's the permeability we are talking about. Dissolubility, that means how much gas dissolve in membrane, and the diffusivity, how much it get it pass through. So one will get it retained or dissolved and other will pass through the membrane system. So are the different type of membrane we do had it. Polymeric membrane, then we do have the inorganic membrane, and then we talk about the mixed matrix membrane. So first polymeric membrane, what we get it is the most common type made of polymers like polysulfone or polyamide. Cheap, easy to manufacture, moderate selectivity and stability, and it is used in small scale CO2 capture, and it is used in a biogas upgrading also. The second we do had inorganic membrane. So it is made from material like zeolite, ceramics, metal membrane. What is the advantage of this one? High thermal stability, and it is good for high temperature gas stream. And what is the disadvantage? Expensive, and it is a brittle also. Then the third one, mixed matrix membrane, combination of a polymer plus inorganic particle. What is the goal here? Improve permeability and selectivity together. Very active research area is being done in mixed matrix membrane. So another point here we do talk about key performance parameter which we had it. First is the permeability. So how fast CO2 passes. Then second, selectivity. How well CO2 is separated from the other gases. Then other working parameter we do have the pressure difference. Then membrane thickness and temperature also plays a vital role. So there is a trade-off. Higher permeability. Permeability means how fast CO2 passes. Higher permeability often means lower selectivity. Lower selectivity, that means we are talking how well CO2 is separated from the other gases. So we are looking for the high permeability here. And where it can be applied, post combustion CO2 capture. So from power plant we are getting the flue gas and it is at the low pressure and low CO2 concentration. So here application part we can apply to the post combustion, then pre combustion natural gas sweetening, and we can apply this the one for biogas upgrading also, where converting biogas into biomethane. Then what are the advantages? We can see it here compared to the other known carbon capture techniques. First, no phase change is involved here. So that means it is an energy efficient operation. It is compact and modular, easy to scale, no chemical solvent needed in this operation, and lower operational complexity also. We do talk about the limitation, membrane falling could be the one problem here. Performance drop if we do have the impurities present in the gases. Larger membrane area required for low CO2 concentration. If CO2 is coming from application part, we have seen it post combustion carbon capture. If CO2 is coming from the power plant, it is having at the low concentration. So in that case, larger membrane area would be required for handling low concentration CO2. And then there is a moderate selectivity compared to your chemical absorption. So that is the application part, we have seen it. Now move to the another capture which we have talked today, that is the cryogenic distillation for CO2 capture. So what is a cryogenic distillation? We understood it here. It is a carbon capture method that separates CO2 from flue gases by cooling the gas to very low temperature so that CO2 liquefies or solidify and can be separated easily. How it is working? It works based on your difference in boiling point of the gases. But the basic principle involved here, every gas has a different boiling point. So CO2 sublimation point is minus 78.5 degrees centigrade. If you talk the nitrogen, so it is a minus 196 degrees centigrade. Oxygen minus 183 degrees centigrade. So what we get it, CO2 condenses or solidifies at much higher temperature than compared to your nitrogen and oxygen. So it can be separated by cooling the mixture. So what is the working principle for your cryogenics? Gas compression. So flue gas or process gas is compressed. Cooling, gas is cooled using heat exchanger and refrigeration cycle. Then CO2 condensation or sublimation, we have seen it. At low temperature, CO2 becomes liquid or solid. Dry ice, other gases remain in the gaseous form. So separation, CO2 is collected, remaining gases are removed. CO2 purification, further distillation will improve the CO2 impurity greater than 99%. So best condition for cryogenics capture is, cryogenic methods are most suitable when CO2 concentration is high, so greater than 50% or 20%, which was mentioned previously. Gas stream is already under pressure, so high purity CO2 is required, not ideal for low concentration flue gas if it is coming from the power plant. Type of a CO2 capture, cryogenic CO2 capture, we do have the conventional cryogenic distillation which we do talk about. So it uses the multiple cooling and distillation column. Apart from that, we do have the anti-sublimation process, so CO2 directly deposit as a solid on a cold surface. Then we do have one more option, that is cryogenic packed bed system, advanced system for efficient freezing and removal. We do talk about the advantages and disadvantages. So advantages, produces very high purity CO2, no chemical involvement are there, no solvent degradation, suitable for large scale industry. So disadvantages, very energy intensive, cooling requirement are there, expensive refrigeration system, and risk of a solid CO2 blockage are also there, not economical for dilute flue gases. This is all we have talked about in the today's discussion. One is the membrane, how using the membrane we will capture the CO2, and another one using the cryogenics, how the CO2 separation takes place. So under the CO2 capture, two topics was covered today. So this is all for today. See you in the next class. Thank you.